Hey everyone, I hope everyone's staying healthy and safe during this time with the COVID-19 pandemic. So, I wanted to start this series through the Miami hurricane as a way for everyone within our community to process everything that's going on. I'll be speaking with faculty and staff, students, and our first student that we'll be speaking with is Adele Devito. She's a friend of mine and she was also studying abroad in Italy this past semester before it was unfortunately cut short due to COVID-19. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Del, so how have you been? It's so nice talking to you. How have you been?
I've been good. I've just been working on like my online classes and stuff. Honestly, just like trying to work out at home, like make a regular routine. But pretty good for the circumstances, I guess.
With you. Um, so it's nice talking with you. I haven't talked to you in so long, like kind of like face to face.
I know.
Yeah,
It's been crazy.
it's been so crazy. And I can't wait to get like coffee like once this is all over with and like
Oh, I know. I
social
get me out
distancing.
of this house.
I'm trying to tell you like, and you've probably been in the house so much longer, especially when you had left from Italy. Um, but no, so I just wanted to talk today just so people can hear, like other UM students and just people in general can just hear about your experience of being abroad, and also just like with everything that's going
Yeah,
on,
sure.
so that they can hear someone from like the UM community tell their experience. But I wanted to start off by saying like how so leading up to going to Italy, because I know for me personally, like studying abroad is like a once in a lifetime experience. Like it's so one of the coolest things to do. So when you leading up to that, like going to Italy and studying abroad, like what were your thoughts? Like I'm pretty sure you didn't have in the back of your mind, like, oh, I'm gonna be leaving in like.
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I think we had started hearing about coronavirus in like January, but never did I think that was going to impact my trip at all. And it's unfortunate. Like, I know you studied abroad, and I'm sure you felt this too, that you were preparing for this event for so long. Like, you had to really fit it into your schedule, take certain classes, really work it into your curriculum so that you could actually go and do it. And then for something like this to happen and kind of just take that away from you was like so shocking at first. Like you never would have expected something like that to even happen. But just have to adapt, I guess.
Yeah, that's. I'm glad that you brought that up because that's really something that you don't really think about, like when you're going into it. It's just something that's negative. But I know when I like during the semester when we had first started, I remember hearing about like the coronavirus, like starting out like in Asia and like China and stuff, and that students that did want to go to like China, like the U Shanghai program, had gotten canceled.
Yeah.
Like when that had happened, I don't know if you were aware that they had canceled the U Shanghai program, or if you were in the States, or if you were already in Italy. But when that happened, like when they like where they were like, oh, we're canceling the U Shanghai, and then there was like a domino effect with South Korea and Japan. Like, was
Hmm.
there any type of anxiety, like, oh, like it's a possibility that.
Honestly, no, because I think I was still home when they canceled that program, and I remember hearing like, oh, they're gonna relocate the kids. They're still gonna be able to study abroad, and I'm like, oh, great, like awesome, good for them. But I still wasn't even thinking like, oh, this could affect me or like any other study abroad students. Like we just really didn't know the impact that this was gonna have.
Got you. Now walk me through when you were, because I don't know, because everybody's study abroad experience and like timeline is totally different. Like I know some
Hmm.
people start in like the spring semester, but they don't start until like March, and then they don't end until like June because like every
Right.
school term is different in like other parts of the world. So what was your timeline specifically?
Right. So I left the last weekend of January, and we got to Rome, and we spent like a week doing
Wait, you kind of broke up.
a
You'll repeat that.
yeah, sure. So we left the last weekend of January, and then we had like a week of orientation and stuff, and then we started school very beginning of February, and um, we were there. I left on March 3rd, so it was about I think it was like 5 weeks or so that I was there.
Wow, that's so short compared to like when you because the thing is for people that haven't studied abroad, like when you first get there, and I'm pretty sure you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like the first month, there is like no idea of like there's like some people may like leave like after the second week and go explore another country, but that
Mm-hmm.
first month is really just that adjustment period to like where you're at and like getting the feel for like, okay, this is Italy, this is what it's like, this is my like school, this is where I'm going to eat. So
Exactly.
for it to be cut that short, like what had you gotten done before they were? Because I know like probably like after the second or third week they were probably like emailing you guys.
Right.
So what were
Well,
you to?
actually, Trey, we really didn't hear about. I didn't know I was leaving until like 2 or 3 days before I left. It was kind of late, yeah. So, uh, so to answer the beginning of your question, I actually got a ton done in Rome before I had to leave, which was nice. I kind of set a goal for myself to try and see something new every day, and that was good because I mean, I was there for over a month, so I got to see a lot, cover a lot of ground. But like you're saying, yeah, I didn't really get to travel a ton, which I had been planning to do later on in the semester. But yeah, we heard. I think it was like a Saturday or Sunday night, and we got an email saying that students needed to be on a plane by Friday, the next Friday, and leaving Rome. So I called my parents, and then we booked a flight as soon as possible to leave, just because I knew it was going to be kind of a hectic time.
Now, was there any like? And I know you just told me that it was like kind of like last minute with like the figuring out like leaving and stuff like that. But was there
Mm-hmm.
any type of signal before then that like, oh, this has definitely gotten serious in Italy? Because like now Italy is like
Right.
so hard hit. Like,
Right. So, it was right after Milan Fashion Week, and that's when um, the virus kind of started spreading throughout Italy, and that whole Lombardy region was getting shut down. I had two friends that were studying abroad in Florence, and they called and said, "Guys, we're literally going home tomorrow morning. Like, we're getting on a plane." And I'm like, "Why? What are you talking about? Why are you even leaving there?" Like, just kind of explaining how like the northern region of Italy is being shut down, and I had been reading a little bit about like what was going on, but none of us really thought it was going to be like that serious. But then right after that, we started getting emails about how the virus was spreading all over across the northern area of Italy, and so we kind of knew right then, like, all right, I think it's time that we get sent home. Sadly, but UM's been really helpful during the whole process. So it's been a difficult transition, just coming like right back into the U.S., like kind of a reverse culture shock. But we're working through it.
I can definitely like not like because we're definitely not PR people, so I'm not like sitting up here like tooting the horn like, oh, UM's so amazing. But I will say like the study abroad office when I was in the situation in Hong Kong, they definitely were very. They worked with that whole fluid situation. They really helped out and they helped just because it
Mm-hmm.
was not an easy situation. So I know exactly what you're talking about in that
And I
regard.
mean, it's like they've never had to deal with anything like this before, you know? Especially in your situation as well. Like, I mean, who's going to predict something like that? So we have to be patient, I guess.
Exactly, and that's like a really good point that I'm glad you brought up because I was actually talking with some other students and just hearing everyone's thoughts and some people are like, oh, like UM's done a terrible job with managing it, and then some people are so good, or they're saying it like they're really good. I personally think that with it being something that's so unprecedented, I think that it's kind of hard to judge a situation like this. But from
Mm-hmm.
your perspective and the situation that you were in, what was your take on like just I know you said it was like last minute, but like with everything that's going on, do you think that it was managed well or?
I I think some of UM's communication was not super straightforward initially. I don't know if you remember, but there was a mass email that went out to the entire school, and it was UM's first communication about coronavirus. And in that email, they said that all students studying abroad in Italy would be returning home. And that was a mass email that went to the entire school, faculty, staff, everyone, and we hadn't heard anything from anyone else before that. So we got that email and we're like, oh, so we really are out of here. And then we're trying to call study abroad office, and like they sent the email out at 5 o'clock U.S. time or Eastern time. So um, like we couldn't contact anyone for a few days and had no clue really what was going on or like the details of the situation. But with that being said, some of my friends that were coming to Rome studying abroad from other schools heard a lot less from their universities, and they didn't even hear things until like 3 or 4 days after we had gotten communication. So, I mean, I would definitely not like to be in their shoes for that reason. But I think since that first initial communication, UM's been helpful um, with letting us know like what's going on. So
Well, that's yeah. No, I didn't even know that. I didn't know that you. I thought because usually what it seems like they seem to do is like email the people and then make the broadcast. But I didn't know that they let the university know and then you guys found
yeah.
out, like that's kind of
Well,
a funny way of finding out.
and the funny thing was, Trey, in the email it said that they had already communicated with us separately, which hadn't happened. And so that's why everyone was kind of upset about it. And before even reached out to us, we have been getting emails from the U.S. consulate in Rome, and they were kind of just letting us know, like, this is the level of risk you're at. Like, please do these things to try and stay safe and healthy at this time. Blah blah blah. So we were getting that feedback, and then no address from So we're like, I guess we're staying. Like, we're just gonna hunker down. And then they sent the mass email, and we're like, are we staying? I don't understand. So yeah.
And that's I think the interesting what's so interesting about the students that were studying abroad in Rome and like Italy in general
Mm-hmm.
with the fact that it was like the timeline of it all. It's like it just happened like so. Felt like I mean, from compared to like other students in Europe with the whole travel ban that went up, and that was like, oh, you need to hurry and get out like ASAP.
Right.
But with this one, it was just like everything was like it was like a smooth sail, and then all of a sudden it just went. And it was like, oh no, you need to get home. And then after like you guys had got back, Italy was like we're closing, like we're quarantining the other part, the upper part, the Lombardy region, and then now the entire country. So when you were reading that, when you had gotten back home, what was going through your mind as far as like?
Yeah, so I know a lot of my friends and I have been staying in contact since we came back from Rome, and we all got back and we're like, okay, this stinks. We're the only ones dealing with this. Like, we're having to come home and we're missing out on this great experience. Like, how unlucky is this? Just kind of like really down. But then it's so upsetting that everyone kind of had to go through the same thing. But like you're saying, like different times. But I mean, it's what needed to be done. Like, to stay safe, you gotta come back home, and be with your family and where you can get the right medical care. Yeah. Once we started seeing like areas of Italy being shut down, and once I got back here, you start seeing the numbers climb of cases. That was scary, and to know teachers or friends back in Rome that are sick and are stuck in their homes, like that's a scary thing. And it's something I mean, a lot of people have never even experienced like a pandemic. None of us have gone through something like that before. So it's a weird feeling of like anxiety and um maybe like I feel anxious because I can't do anything to help, besides stay at home. And I just feel upset for the place I was just exploring every day and having such a great time. Now it's struggling so hard.
I was gonna ask as far as when you had gotten back after with everything that happened in Italy when the death toll started to go up and the numbers of people infected started to go up drastically because it's something that just happened like over time, like very fast, rapidly.
Yeah.
When you finally got back to the U.S., I know it was a lot of people since Corona is something that's just unknown. No one really knows about it. It's a lot of kind of like hysteria behind it. So like if it's like for example when you came back, they were like, "Oh, you were in Italy." It's
Right.
just the back of people's minds. Some people are like, "Ooh, I don't want to be with Adele. She needs to quarantine." Was there any of that? Did you ever experience that with like friends or family?
Right. I didn't actually experience that because we had to do like a 14-day mandatory quarantine, and I just didn't leave the house for 14 days. I started. This was still when it was kind of like okay to go out in the public and stuff. So I remember around like day 10, I started going to the beach, and like going out to restaurants and like seeing some friends, but of course like keeping distance and wearing a mask too when I was out there. Um, so I didn't really experience that because number one, like I had no symptoms and I had been at home for already like 10 days and I was feeling good. So luckily that didn't happen, but I can definitely see how some people might experience that. But I think with that 14-day mandatory quarantine that UN wanted us to do, that kind of eliminated a lot of the contact you'd have with like the public. So it was good.
And on the flight back, was there any type of safety measures? I know some. I remember talking with someone. They said that they, when you got off the flight or before you got off the flight, they like checked your fever to make sure it wasn't like over 100 or something like that. Was it any type of measures like that?
Yeah, so I had to sign a form first, like right when I got to the airport, stating like that I hadn't been in certain northern regions of Italy in the last few days. And they had asked me several questions at the check-in and then when I was boarding, just about where I've been traveling, what my purpose was for traveling back to the US, stuff like that. And then I didn't get like a direct temperature check, but I had to step into a room with like heat sensors, and and then there was someone in a hazmat suit in front of me, kind of like checking off the people coming onto the flight to make sure they passed. And they told me that if my temperature was above 99, I wouldn't be permitted to fly. So, and which isn't, I mean, I think that's only like 1 degree above your normal temperature. So I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
This
I'm
is
not
a little
a scientist,
scary.
but I think yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. Because I think that was a number two I heard too, and I was like, isn't 99 like? Because like I feel like living in Florida and you're outside, your body temp. Yeah, yeah, no. So I know what you're talking about. And when you finally got back to things after the like 14-day period, the 10-day period, the quarantine,
Mm-hmm.
was that when everything started to close down or shut down in America?
Yeah, so I honestly think there was only about 2 days where it was like still okay to be out and about until like the home quarantine kind of was put into place. Um, so yeah, I've been I've been quarantining for quite a while, but it's got to be done.
So that well, speaking of, since you have experience with this quarantine, since you've been doing it so long, is there what are some things that you would like to share with people as far as like some of the things that you do just to keep your mental health in check? You know, because that's something very important. And just like things that you do to pass the time, besides like you know the
Sure.
mundane stuff of like homework and stuff.
Right, yeah. I think for me it was all about establishing a new normal. And although we don't know how long we're going to be stuck in this strange period of time, you have to kind of establish a schedule for yourself that's like something that you would do normally. So, like, try to get up at the same time, go to bed at the same time. And whether you're doing homework or working out or doing chores around the house, kind of like set goals for yourself. And I think that's the best way to maybe not sleep all the days away. It's definitely okay to be lazy during this time because I think a lot of people are feeling anxious and stressed, and rest is the best way to handle that. So I would say rest when you can, but also try to set goals and get stuff done that you wouldn't normally be able to get done. Have you be like working or in class.